Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Marvel United X-Men. This is the Kickstarter box set Villains Part. Technically, it's Part 2 of the Villain set, Part 4 of the overall Kickstarter. Kickstarter stretch goals. We did 2 videos with all the heroes. We did 1 video with the villains. So now we're gonna finish off the rest of the villains. Plus, check out all the other videos we've done with the rest of the box sets and everything. Alright, so when we last left, we were looking at Arcade, the creator of Murder World. So here we go. He has a special setup. He says heroes can choose Murder World to be their starting location. If they do, Arcade's health is decreased by 2. Place the face-down threat cards in each location except for the villain and hero starting locations. Keep the remaining 8 cards in a face-down threat deck. So he's got a special extra threat deck. The Murder World location comes in, I want to say, gold team, but it might be blue team. It's either X-Men blue or gold. I don't remember off the top of my head. But we also saw in the last video, Mojo, for Mojoverse, had the same idea. He had where you could play as a specific location. I think the only other villain I know of that has an effect like that is Apocalypse from the Age of or the Horseman of Apocalypse expansion. Alright, so here we have, he has 6, 9, or 11 health. Ooh, we didn't look at him yet. So here's Arcade. He's sitting on a pinball hitter. Finding like a big giant in a pinball game, one of the bouncing little things. There's his top hat and his cane. So Mojo's whole thing is he creates these fantastical, usually in what he calls Murder World. He creates these big, giant, fantastical, like, death traps that heroes have to escape from. Mainly torments X-Men and Spider-Man. Not to say he hasn't done other things. He did the Avengers Academy, Avengers Arena, where he kidnapped a bunch of teenage heroes from all the different schools, including, like, the Britain School, Runaways, couple other different characters, and have them fight in a death match. It's a very, very interesting comic to read. But yeah, it basically creates these elaborate traps. We're going to see some of those. So, special rule: a hero entering a location with a face-down threat turns it face up. If multiple heroes enter at the same time, the entering hero is the active one, or hero choose if the active one is not present. A face-down threat cannot be cleared in any way. When a hero is tailed, Arcade doesn't activate his BAM. Instead, he places 1 crisis token on Arcade's dashboard. Overflow: if 1 or more token can't be added to a location, hero takes 2 crisis tokens. Hero's choice. BAM: each hero takes 1 damage for each crisis token they have. Then discard all their crisis tokens. Turn all threat cards in play face down, discarding any action tokens on them. Oh boy. So you have to defeat them really fast. Or just ignore them. Villainous Plot: the hero loses if Arcade has 4 crisis tokens on his dashboard. So if the hero is KO'd, they get that. So basically, if he KOs 4 characters, that is crazy. Alright, so let's look at his cards. Here we have the big back picture of him. So he's going to have a bunch of special stuff. So he's going to have, let's zoom up on this. And why is everything off center? I think I knocked him over. I think I hit it with my box earlier. There we go. Alright, so he doesn't have any movement on this card, but he has quick rebuild. Place the top card of the threat deck In the first location, clockwise with no threats, starting with arcade location. You got another one, but this one has thugs instead. So you can have a bunch of different ones. Just different movement costs, or different thugs or civilians. So it looks like that's going to be most of it. So he gets taken out. He can keep rebuilding. Then he's also got 2 copies of Defense Protocol, one with some thugs and a movement, one with civilians. Until the start of the next villain turn, arcade can't be damaged if there are any thugs or henchmen in his location. And then his last one is, yes, surprise, surprise. Shuffle all threats in play and place them back face down, starting with arcade's location and proceeding clockwise, which I'm not at all surprised he has that based on what we've just seen. Alright, so he's gonna, normally you only have 6 threats. He has a lot more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he gets 12 of them. So we have 2 copies of Deadly Trap. When this threat is revealed, the entering hero takes 2 crisis tokens. 2 copies of Debilitating Trap. When this threat is revealed, the entering hero must discard 1 action. If they have none, they take 1 crisis token. Entangling Trap. When this threat is revealed, the entering hero can no longer use movement this turn and takes 1 crisis token. Confusing Trap, 2 copies of that. When this threat is revealed, entering hero immediately ends their turn. 2 copies of Assassin Drones Trap. When this threat is revealed, the entering hero takes as many crisis tokens as the number of thugs in this location. And 2 copies of Assassin... Yeah, got too many cards on here now. And then 2 copies of Fake Civilians in Peril Trap. When this threat is revealed, entering hero takes as many crisis tokens as the number of civilians in this location. They're all a little bit easier. They're like 2 instead of 3, like lots of the other threat cards are, or more. Some have 4. I wish he had... it's a neat idea. I like the idea of these traps. They flip over, you gotta try and basically beat them in 1 turn. Otherwise they can get flipped back down very quickly with a BAM effect. Or they can get reshuffled, all this. You might have to defeat some multiple times. So it might not even be worth dealing with the traps and just trying to focus on doing some of the other stuff. It's hard to say which is the best route to go with this character. He usually has an ally, I put in quotes, or is Miss Locke, who kind of works with him, also tries to kill him. It's a whole thing with him. I kind of wish they would have had at least 1 henchman, like 2 henchmen, or like 1 her, 1 something else. Or some of these would have been like themed around some of the odd stuff, like he makes giant ping balls, or like he's made like robotic versions of allies, something like that. Like a little bit more themed, I guess. Traps would have been kind of cool, but still very interesting. Alright, so in the last video we went through all the villains. We were trying to sort them out kind of by groups. So we did common, like classic villains like the Brotherhood, and then we did some Wolverine villains, and these were kind of like TV or like performing villains with like Mojo and Arcade. So now we're going to go into the Morlocks. So we're gonna have Marrow. So right off we have Sarah. We've seen her before because she's also a hero. She was an X-Men for a time. Of course now with the whole Dawn and Reign of X and House of Powers and all that, technically every single mutant villain could be a hero as well. which would have been way too many things, but that would have been cool. So here we have Morlock tunnels must be villain's starting location. Do not place threats, thugs, or civilians there. So cool, that's a third character. We have another character that utilizes having to use an area. I really like that. The idea of, I like being able to adjust and use any locations you want. That was reset the board up, but I do also like the idea of some villains specifically being like, you have to play with this location. It just kind of makes it like a little bit more thematic. Like, yeah, they can do anything else, but at least forcing me to use one. So here's her. She's, again, purple because you can use her for both. And in case you didn't watch the Heroes one yet, or you forgot, her mutant ability is she has these bone growths. She can pull them out, stab people with them, throw them, whatever. She's sent through several different mutations. So sometimes it's a little bit more controlled. Sometimes it's wild outbursts of them. Also, she was part of she was alive during the mutant massacre, which the Marauders, dictated by Mr. Sinister, went through and tried to slaughter all the Morlocks. There's a lot of other backstory there. But she's one of the people who survived, became a terrorist for a while, running Gene Nation. Just probably reflects some of that. She's angry about that. She's got 4, 5, or 6 health. Special rules. When a hero is killed, Meryl doesn't activate her BAM. Instead, add +1 civilian in Morlock Tunnel. BAM, deal 1 damage to a hero in Meryl's location. Overflow of one of our tokens can't be added. Place a random threat card back in play in the next clockwise location without a threat. If all threats are in play, add 1 thug in Morlock Tunnels instead. Villainous Plot. Heroes lose if there is an overflow in Morlock Tunnels. Alright, so let's look at her cards. Alright, so we're going to have some more regular movement and placing some tokens down. And then we're going to get to her special cards here. So much like her hero version, she's going to have dual hearts, and she has one with thugs and one with civilians. It's both dual heart master plan cards. Dual heart master plan cards are face up in the story when Meryl is defeated. She returns to her starting health, then return both dual heart cards face down, so it represents that she can get KO'd at least once and still live, which happened in the comic books. Storm, quote unquote, killed her, but because later we found out she had 2 hearts, she actually lived. And then we have threats. So let's look at her threats. She has 2 copies of bone armor. As long as at least 1 bone armor is in play, if a hero in Meryl's location deals 1 or more damage to her, they take 1 damage. Safe place, we got 2 copies of that. Meryl recovers 1 health and can't go above starting value. And 2 copies of Surprise Ambush. As long as at least 1 Surprise Ambush is in play, Meryl's BAM is also deals 1 damage to each hero location adjacent to Meryl. Alright, so that's cool. Alright, so I hadn't thought of doing this, but then I thought about it afterwards. I did just want to show off these locations for some of these different characters that need specific locations. So here's Morlock Tunnel for her. So it starts off with nothing if you begin with her. But there's 5 slots because you don't want this to overflow. It says end of turn. You must add a thug and a civilian to this location. So if you end your turn in the Morlock Tunnels, you have to add extra things. So you're not going to want to end there. It says the Mortons must be a starting location. So definitely this will have to be a thing you have to keep constantly avoiding that one spot. If you defeat that threat, because otherwise it's just going to fill up super fast, and if it fills up, you lose. So that's kind of interesting there. Then, as long as we're looking at that, let's also look at Murder World. It says you must discard one card from the hand to the bottom of your deck. So if we're playing as Arcade, his said he gets 2 less health. If you have this in place, if you start with this one. Yes, if you defeat that threat, and then you're on the spot, you have to discard 1 card from your hand. So it makes that a lot more dangerous because there's a thing. So again, you don't be kind of an interesting idea. And then finally, even though this is from the previous villains video, we have Mojoverse. It said, which Mojo's was, where is he? So here's Mojo's as a refresher. It says the same thing as Arcade. He gets -2 health. But you're trying to get rid of these. You don't want to fill up this meter with him, and basically as you take damage and stuff, things will fill that up. So his says, if you perform 3 or more heroic or attack actions here this turn, you may gain 1 wild token. If you did not, you must discard 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. So basically you have to perform a bunch of actions, otherwise that. So it's kind of neat. It forces you to play as those. And those are from, I was wrong. So Mojoverse is from Blue Team, but the other 2 are from the X-Force set. So Murder World and Morlock Tunnels are from X-Force. So if you're looking at picking up those, that is where you would get those ones from. Alright, so speaking of Morlocks, we have one more Morlock to look at. We have Callisto. So she's the leader of the Morlocks. She has to fight Storm. So she doesn't have any special setups or anything. So here's her. She's a dagger. I'm not 100% sure what her mutant power is. I know it has to do with kind of being like a strategist and a tracker. I like similar like enhanced senses, kind of like Wolverine, or a character like that would have. But I think there's a little bit more to it. But I'm not sure what the specifics of it are called. It's not something super flashy. But yeah, it's like it's like a strategic type power. 3, 7, and 5 health. Special rules: when a hero is KO'd, Callisto doesn't activate her BAM. Instead, she places a random cleared threat card back into play in the next clockwise location without a threat after Callisto's. Okay, after the location she's at. Bam. Deal 1 damage to a hero in Callisto's location. Then Callisto moves to the next clockwise location with a Morlock Tunnel threat, if possible. And then her overflow, if a token can't be added, deal 1 damage to each hero in that location. Then draw a Master Plan card, add it face down to the start line. So a little bit more basic type of character again. It's not bad to have different basic, like sort of like basic type characters instead of always ones with like super big gimmicks. Gives you a little bit refresher. So it's like, oh, I want to play some newer people, or we want an easier game. You're not always stuck having to deal with someone that has like some big convoluted thing like Arcade. You know, just look at Arcade. He has like, oh, you have to shuffle this and do that. Sometimes it's nice just to play one where it's like, I just have to work on defeating the threats, and they're just trying to like gain enough overflow to win. And there's nothing extra special about it. And that is sometimes perfectly fine. Not to have to deal with a bunch of gimmicky stuff. So here's hers. It just got some movements and some threats. Oh, dropped it. So yeah, she doesn't even have any special cards. She just straight up has just move, bam, play stuff. So that's kind of interesting. And then she has some threats. So all her threats are going to be some different Morlocks. So we have 3 copies of the Morlock Tunnels. Add 1 thug in this location. Callisto can't take any damage as long as she's in this location. It'd be kind of neat to play that with the Morlock Tunnels as well. And then her other 3 cards are some henchmen. I love getting more henchmen. We have a mask. Bam, deal 2 damage to 1 hero in this location. Mask can't take any damage if there are more than 1 hero in this location. She also gets Marrow, who we just saw. Deal 1 damage to each hero in this location. And when Marrow is defeated, place her back at full health in the next clockwise location without a threat. And finally, we have Taliban. Deal 1 damage to a hero in this location and each adjacent location. This is kind of an interesting one because this is the Taliban that was more like the Horseman of Apocalypse version, as opposed to when he was in the sewers. He did go back to the sewers and defended in there, so it's not incorrect, but the original version was a scrawny little guy. But he's a mutant tracker, so he would also be kind of a neat boss character because you could have him with his tracking ability, like he's Hunter, sort of like which Sabertooth has. Be kind of a neat one. But yeah, so that is Callisto. So even though she doesn't have a bunch of special stuff, just having them henchmen stuff does make her different. Alright, so our next group, we're going to do our space-themed characters. X-Men, even though they're, based on Earth, they do a lot of stuff in space because they deal with the Shi'ar, and the Super Guardians. They've dealt with the Phanalix, who are in the Technarchy, which are from space. Here we have the Brood Queen, which are these slugs that, basically they're kind of like the aliens from Alien movies. They like to plant eggs inside people, and then they hatch into brood. But they specifically started liking mutants because then if they hatch from a mutant, they gain the mutant's abilities as well. So then there's kind of little sluggy alien creatures. So then there's the queen that produces more eggs. So they've come in conflict several times with the X-Men. So that's one of the big space things I wonder if they have. Yeah, so here's one of her threat cards. So there's one of the regular brood. So you got a little preview of that. Alright, so she has special setup. Place a threat on both locations adjacent to the Brood Queen. Keep each remaining threat card. Keep the remaining threat cards in the deck within reach. Place a villain tracker cube on the spawn point in the Brood location. Alright, so let's see what we have here. She has a bunch of extra special stuff. So she has 1, 2, or 3 health. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. She's not very hard to kill. Master Plan cards move the spawn point instead of move. Master cards move the spawn point instead of moving the Brood Queen. Thugs and civilian tokens are based on the spawn point location instead of the villain location. So she sits there and then she spawn point moves around the board. When a hero is KO'd, Brood Queen doesn't activate her BAM. Instead, she gains 2 health, may go above starting value. BAM. The Brood Queen gains 1 health and may go above starting value. Then place a threat card in the spawn point location if vacant. Otherwise, place it in the next clockwise location without a threat. Okay, so that's kind of a neat idea. She starts off with only 2 threats, and very low health, but then as the game goes on, she's going to keep gaining more health, gaining more threats, basically expanding her territory. Overflow, if tokens can't be added. Place a threat in a spawn point location if vacant. Otherwise, place the next clockwise location without a threat. Villainous Plot. The heroes lose at the end of the villain's turn. All locations have a threat card. Oh, so that's fun. So you're battling against... you keep removing stuff so the overflow doesn't play it. The BAM's going to keep playing stuff. That is definitely neat. And then as they keep going, she's going to keep gaining more and more cards. That is love that. It's a neat mechanic. Alright, so what do we have? We just have threes, some ones with some BAMs, some twos, 0. A lot of these have BAMs. We do have some special cards. We have 3 copies that have Infect with different movements. So, each brood threat in a location with any civilians discards 1 civilian and adds 2 thugs there. So it's changing from the hatching is kind of what that is. And then we have her threat cards. So her threat cards are all going to be that brood card we saw. So we got all 6 of them. I'm just making sure none of them have different stats. They got 3 health each. BAM, deal 1 damage among heroes in this location equal to 1 plus the number of thugs. So our other cards are going to create more thugs. Or if they're in there, they're going to definitely do more damage. And this keeps increasing. We gotta do a lot of attacks. So heroics aren't important in this one. You want to be able to do massive damage and fend off this increasing insect horde. That is a fun mechanic. Alright, so another spacefaring thing. We've been talking about the Shi'ar. So of course we're going to have a representative of that. We have Deathbird. Who's also been a horseman of the apocalypse. And she dated Bishop for a while. She's currently kind of dating Sunspot. She is sister to Queen Elandra, who Professor X is dating, or is consort for a while. So the Shi'ar are an Aven bird-based race, but they have like more humanoid features than birds. But they're one of the major powers in the universe. So it's like some of the major space groups out there are the Shi'ar, the Kree, the Skrull are like the big 3. So she's constantly either sometimes trying to kill everyone, sometimes trying to be helpful. She's kind of all over the place. It's a special setup. No more than 3 of the locations choosing may have more starting thugs than civilians. Interesting. We also do have, as long as you've been looking at the locations, see if I can find it quick. So if we want to play one that's more specific to her, we have Shandalar, the Shi'ar Empire. So we can always play one that's more specific to her. So that'd be kind of interesting. We didn't actually look what it did. And in the end, it has 2 thugs, so that would work for effect. And you may discard one of your tokens to gain a combination of 2. So you kind of get a trade with them. Alright, so she has 4, 7, and 11 health. Special rules. When this location has more thugs than civilians, place 1 crisis token on it. When a location has less thugs than civilians, remove any crisis tokens there. The crisis tokens in a location can't be removed by any other effect. During their turn, A hero may use a single heroic to add one civilian to their location. Oh, so that's kind of neat. That's a little bit different. So you can, basically, you can eliminate more thugs, or add more civilians. You can get rid of all them tokens. So sometimes it might be better to, add one or two civilians rather than trying to defeat 2 or 3 thugs. That's kind of a neat idea. Overflow, if there can't be added, turn the leftmost civilian into a thug. Bam, deal 2 damage to one hero in Deathbird's location. Turn the leftmost civilian into a thug. And Villainous Plot, heroes lose once 5 locations have crisis tokens. So that's a neat effect, kind of like she's commanding the Shi'ar to take over Earth. I guess is sort of what that is supposed to be. There's other characters I feel like that would be better. That would actually, I think, be a neater, like turning civilians into thugs and then trying to like take over. That'd be something like a Skrull thing. Like, oh, they were civilians, but no, they were secretly Skrulls. That'd be kind of a little bit more. I think it'd be better for them versus her. Hers is more like she comes in and she attacks, I guess. But that's all right. It's still a fun idea. Something they could always redo in if they made some made another expansion, like in a 3rd season of the Marvel United. They could definitely do a Skrull with like the Skrull Queen, have that sort of like a secret invasion type thing. That'd be fun. So she's got 2 copies of Cunning Strategist, add 1 thug in every location, and 2 copies of Deadly Javelins. Deal 1 damage to each hero in Deathbird's location, then bam. And then she's got her threats. So she's going to get 2 copies of Spreading Unrest. Add 1 thug in this location. Oh, she's got 3 copies of that. I'm sorry. She's got 2 copies of the Shi'ar Elite Warriors. Each thug in this location requires 2 damage to be defeated, and that's where adding them civilians might be easier. Easier to place 2 civilians for 2 heroics than having to spend 4 damage to take out 2 thugs. And then she just have 1 henchman character. She has a Vulcan. This is Gabriel Summers, Cyclops and Havoc's brother, who was kidnapped by the Shi'ar as a kid, in birth actually, when Cyclops' parents were taken. So he's part Shi'ar as well, I believe. And he got mad. All this stuff, he finally came back years later. Lots of stories, stuff, I'm not going to get into all that. But then eventually, when he got done doing stuff on Earth, he went to space to take out the Shi'ar. Actually took over for a while, became the Emperor. But he's kind of like he's a dictator almost. And then X-Men characters had to go take care of him, and Havoc went to deal with them. So it's bam, deal 2 damage to each hero in this location, 1 damage to each hero in both adjacent locations. Vulcan ignores 1 damage each hero turn. So that is going to be hard to beat. I think he kind of teamed up with Deathbird to take over the throne because he had the power. So that's kind of, he could have been a villain on his own. But hey, representation for new henchmen are always welcome by me. Alright, our next cosmic threat is the Dark Phoenix. You don't get much more cosmic than the Phoenix Force. So Jean Grey gets possessed by the Phoenix Force. This is when it turns evil. The Phoenix eats up a couple planets, including the Skrull homeworld, which is one reason why the Skrulls are attacking Earth half the time. She says, replace all civilians with thugs in every location. She has an awesome miniature. So there's her miniature there. And the Phoenix Force on the back. All the flames. This might even be a cool one if you really want to. If you're crazy enough to buy a second set of these and you're painting these, you could give her one with the red costume, which is Dark Phoenix. You could also paint one with her green costume, which is her standard Phoenix costume. Although she's not a playable character, you guys replace her with one of the Jean Grey cards. It's just a miniature, it'd be kind of neat. Alright, she has 4, 5, and 6 health. I thought she would have had a lot more health than that. Let's see how brutal she is. Instead of attack, heroes must use heroics to attack Dark Phoenix. When a hero is KO'd, Dark Phoenix doesn't activate her BAM. Instead, turn the first clockwise face up location face down. Starting from Dark Phoenix's location. Discard all civilian thugs there. Face down locations have no end of turn effect and no slots for thug civilians. The threats remain active though. BAM, deal 1 damage to each hero in Dark Phoenix's location and both adjacent ones. Overflow, if no tokens can be added, move Dark Phoenix to that location, then BAM. And then Villainous Plot. The hero loses if all locations are turned face down before the missions have been completed. That's crazy, so she's trying to take everything over. So you can still move to them and deal with stuff, you just don't have any of the benefits of them. Plus, there's going to be less overflow. Interesting. So it's kind of like, almost like something you'd think like Galactus might do, like sort of eliminating areas. Alright, so let's see what she does. So she's got all sorts of special abilities. So let's see what she does. So she has 2 copies of Quantum Singularity. When Dark Phoenix should be defeated, she immediately gains 3 health, may go above starting value. Then turn this card face down. 2 copies of Life Force Control. Flip the 3 latest face up hero cards in the storyline face down. And then each one of these, I guess they have different BAM movements. One's 4, one's 1. The other 2 both had 0. She's got 2 copies of Psionic Nexus with 1 and 5. Remove the top card of the Master Plan game from the game. And it's, each of her abilities, she's only adding a couple civilians. She's not dropping a ton like most other ones do. She's got 2 copies of Temporal Manipulation with different movements. Accelerate the next villain card turn by 1 card. 2 copies of Alter Reality with a 2 and a 4. Remove the top card of each hero deck from the game. And then 2 copies are the same of Cosmic Teleportation. Add 2 civilians to this location, resolve this Master Plan card 1 more time, then turn it face down. And then she's got some threats. So she got 3 copies of Mental Barriers. Well, Dark Phoenix is in this location. If a hero uses heroics to attack her, the first attack each turn must use 2 instead. And then 3 copies of Omnipotence. Heroes take damage. Heroes taking damage in this location take 1 extra damage. Yeah, so that's definitely a cool thing. She's flipping these locations down. My hero is KO'd, doesn't activate, instead flips it down. So it's only when they're KO'd. It's not going to happen super often, hopefully. Have no end of turn effects and no slots, but the threats remain active. You can still deal with the threats, you just can't. It'd be even worse if she just eliminated those altogether too, so you couldn't even deal with the threats anymore. So every time someone got KO'd, you lost something. That'd be a very Galactus thing too. Eating up everything. Alright, so Jean Grey ended our cosmic threats, but she also started off our last run of villains, which we're going to call psychic threats. So our first one up is going to be Emma Frost. So Emma Frost is using X on her shirt. She's also a hero. So there's her miniature. So this is, I'm gonna guess this is probably the Emma Frost from like the Hellfire Club versus before she became an X-Man. But it could also represent her at some of the various times that she seemingly betrayed the X-Men. Be kind of neat you're playing like these teams. It's a blue and gold X-Men set added teams, so you could have teams of 3. You could do like her with some of the New Mutants that she or the Hellions she controlled, like Thunderbird or in Firestar, or Dark X-Men. She was working alongside Cloak and Dagger, so you could add them in there. You could have her with other various characters you have interesting interactions with. You could have her leading Generation X. So we had Jubilee on there. I don't think we had any other Generation X characters though. Not that I can think of. But yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to do. She says 5, 8, and 10 health. Special rule: at the end of each villain turn, if the number of crisis tokens on this dashboard is equal to or greater than the number of heroes, draw a master plan card, add it face down to the star line, then remove from here the number of crisis tokens equal to the number of heroes. During their turn, heroes can play their cards randomly to remove 1 crisis token from here. Illusional henchmen. Heroes also can use heroics to attack the henchmen. Bam. Place 1 crisis token on the dashboard for each hero in Emma Frost's location, and overflow if a token can't fit. Place 1 crisis on this for each civilian or thug you couldn't add. So that's kind of cool. So basically, as the more crises get added, she's going to get to advance her plans even quicker. Alright, let's look at Emma's, or the White Queen, as we're probably looking at. So she's going to have some movements and some placing some thugs and heroes, or thugs and civilians. And then she's going to get some special movement powers. So she's got 3 copies of this. Nothing special but bam. But it says move clockwise to the next location with the most heroes. And then she's got 2 copies of Erasing Minds. One has thugs, one has civilians. Until the start of the next villain's turn, cancel all special effects on hero cards. That's crazy and fun. Then she's going to have some threats, and we're going to get some henchmen. I love henchmen. So we have 2 copies of Illusional Threats. Heroes starting their turn in this location must ignore 1 action symbol at the bottom of the hero card. So you're going to get Illusional Sebastian Shaw. I like how the artwork's kind of faded out a little bit too. Place 1 crisis token on Emma Frost's dashboard for each hero in this and adjacent locations. Illusional Magic. Bam. Each hero in this location, adjacent locations, must remove the top card of their hero deck from the game. Yeah, you're going to take her out as quickly as possible. Illusional Sabertooth. Each hero in this adjacent location must either discard 1 action token or take 1 damage. And Illusional Namor. Deal 2 damage to 1 hero in this location, 1 damage to 1 hero in each adjacent location. Yeah, so those are kind of fun. We can also use heroics to take them out as well. So you have options, a little bit more to take these guys out. Now seeing something like this would make me, something I always I personally enjoy in these types of games that I can see why other people might not. Is I would love for there to be more cards. Like right now, it's just the 6 threats, so it's one for each location. You just grab it, you play it. I would almost like kind of like a little bit more extra cards to make it customizable. So there's other characters I could see this for too. Maybe not every single character, but some of them. Like if they have threats, even if you had to like randomly shuffle them, or if you're playing the supervillain, maybe that player could pick them out and be like, I'm gonna pick these 6 to use. Get a little bit more options to do. So you could add like definitely. Again, like Creek had 6 more different illusional characters. And then, or some other different perspectives. Maybe like 3 other illusional characters, 3 other things that she could maybe do mentally. And then either randomly select them, so like you play random 6, so every time you play it, you're getting different stuff. I would love to see that as kind of like an add-on for stuff like this. Again, it changes how the game is. Instead of generally just pick up, go, and grab, you have to like sort through different things and stuff like that. So I get why they didn't do it. But I would love things like that. Like I said, we looked at Arcade with Murder World. They had some different, more themed things. We looked at like just other characters in this sector. We've looked at even in here. Stuff like Callisto, having different Morlocks as henchmen getting added in there. So maybe you could swap out some of them for different Morlocks that you just couldn't include enough of. Or, like same thing with Marrow, you got some of her Gene Nation ones. That'd be kind of neat. Mastermind, have some different other members maybe of the Hellfire Club. Stuff like that would be really cool. Alright, so here we have Amon Farouk, the Shadow King. So he's our next psychic threat. So he's a psychic demon, so he had these powerful psychic powers, like telepathy, stuff like that. He got basically trapped in the psychic realm. His body was destroyed, so he had to start possessing other people. He kind of sort of took this form. Sometimes he doesn't always look this demonic. But yeah, he's been a major threat for Xavier for a long time. He's also had giant conflicts with Storm and Psylocke. In fact, Psylocke trapped him inside of her head for a long time, so she couldn't use her psychic abilities for fear of letting him go. And then there was a little like minor event thing that happened where they erased all the psychics, any type of psychic abilities lost their powers for a short time, so that released him from her mind. This is kind of interesting. So his supervillain thing's kind of neat. It says hero starting tokens. Hero players must keep their hero cards in hand revealed, so the enemies can see what you're doing. Alright, so we have 5, 8, and 13 health. Special rule. When a hero starts their turn with any crisis tokens, if there are other heroes in their location, one of them takes a damage. If there are no other heroes in their location, they must ignore one action symbol at the bottom of their cards, then they discard one crisis token. When a hero is KO'd, Shadow King doesn't activate BAM, instead draws a Master Plan card, adds it face down in the storyline. His BAM is give a crisis token to a hero in Shadow King and in each adjacent location. And Overflow, tokens can't be added, give one crisis token to each hero in that location. So you're just working on doing that. Yeah, it's kind of a different way to do that. So there's the back of his cards. Got the little fez on the top, which is really fun. Alright, so we just got some BAMs. Some of these. Let's get to some of his special cards. Alright, so he's got 2 copies of this possession. which have thugs. Switch places with the hero that will play the next hero turn. Give 2 crisis tokens to the that hero and switch places with the Shadow King. Interesting. And then we have 2 more that have civilians that have the same exact effect. Give 2 crisis tokens to the hero at switch places. Switch places with the hero that will play the next hero turn. Interesting. So you can move across the board in different ways there. Alright, then he's going to have some threats. So we got 2 copies of Mental Illusions. Heroes starting their turn in this location must ignore 1 action symbol on the bottom of hero cards. 2 copies of Mental Control. Heroes starting their turn in this location cannot damage Shadow King this turn. And 2 copies of True Omega Telepath. Heroes starting their turn at this location must discard 1 action token if they have any. Yeah, so not very gimmicky character, kind of straightforward, but still fun. I also just noticed I love on the bottom of his mini, he has a little carpet because he hangs out in Egypt. That's where he met Storm as a child. Actually helped raise her as a thief. So that was fun. Alright. We don't get much bigger than Mental Threat, Psychic Threat, than Onslaught. Onslaught is essentially the combination of Magneto and Professor X. He's got this big giant armor here. You kind of see from his helmet and his color scheme, you get the Magneto. So, how he was formed, just a really quick into him, was Magneto ripped out Wolverine's adamantium skeleton. So then Professor X kind of snapped at him, wiped his mind, and then in doing that, an evil portion of Magneto went into Xavier. Over time, slowly took over him and created this being known as Onslaught. Kind of mixed, brought out Xavier's evil side, like planted a seed and kind of brought that out, and then he became Onslaught. And then, so all the X-Men had to fight him, the Avengers had to fight him. Then the only way they could beat him was, at least the first time, because he has come back in different things as well. So eventually they pulled Professor X out of him, but he also captured other powerful psychics like X-Man and Franklin Richards to use their powers, because he got a glimpse of the Age of Apocalypse. He was trying to potentially recreate that, except he was in charge. But yeah, Xavier got pulled out. He became his own entity. And the only way they could defeat him is the X-Men shattered his armor, and he became a purely psychic energy being. But he got powered by mutants. So the only way to stop him was the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and some other Marvel characters jumped into him, basically using their bodies as like a vessel to get rid of him. But then it basically got rid of them, and then we started the Heroes Reborn line, and then those heroes were gone from the regular comics for a while. They restarted in this new Heroes Reborn storyline. Then eventually they all came back, and everyone forgot about Onslaught until years later they decided to revisit him. So let's see what he does. He has 4, 7, 9 health. When a hero is KO'd, Onslaught doesn't activate his BAM, instead draws a master plan, adds it based on the storyline. BAM. Each hero with a crisis token deals 1 damage to one of the heroes of their choice in their location. For each crisis token they have. If the hero is alone, they take all the damage instead, then discard all crisis tokens. So each hero with crisis token deals 1 damage to one hero of their choice in their location. If they're alone, they take all the damage. And then how do we add crisis tokens? Overflow. If one or more can't be added, put a random threat card back in play in the next clockwise location without a threat. All threats are in play. One hero takes a crisis token. So overflow is one way. But he's got to have some other ways, otherwise it's going to be pretty lame. So let's see what he has in store for us. Hopefully some fun cards. Alright, so we have move clockwise to the next location with a target threat. He's got another one of those. He's got two of them that go counterclockwise. He's got two that go clockwise that have civilians, two that go counterclockwise with civilians. He's got mental illusions, two of them with different movements. Move all heroes to the location opposite of Onslaught to give one crisis token to each hero. So there we go. And then he's got two copies of Energy Projection. Give a crisis token to a hero and Onslaught in both adjacent locations equal to the number of their face-up hero cards with special effects in the storyline. Oh boy, that is actually very mean. If that came later in the game. Crisis token to a hero in both adjacent locations to the number of face-up cards. So yeah, if you played, so like randomly drawing this, you might get lucky and they come early. If someone's playing as him, they can save this till later on. All of a sudden, maybe drop like 3 or 4 cards on you, crisis tokens, and then if that effect hits, his BAM hits, where that could deal 1 damage, that can start KOing a lot of guys quickly. So that is actually pretty fun. So we have some threats. And I'm sure these guys are also going to add some different stuff. Ooh, he's a fun one because he has all different threat cards. So nigh invulnerable. As long as this threat is in play, Onslaught ignores 1 damage each hero turn. Power absorption. Draw a master plan and add it face down to the storyline. Then do it again for each hero in this location. Electromagnetic pulse. Each hero in this and adjacent location turn their earliest face-up hero card with special effects face down. Mind control. Give 1 crisis token to each hero in this and adjacent locations. Astral projection. Until the next villain turn, Onslaught cannot be damaged by heroes in this location. And finally, Superior Strategist. Each hero must move 1 location away from Onslaught or take a crisis token. So yeah, that's his beginning cards seem kind of like, and his player board seems kind of bland, but then you start getting them crisis tokens. It's like the threat is looming, it's getting bigger, and the farther you go and the more you do, he's going to keep doing more and more damage to you. So that is actually really fun. Alright, we only have 1 character left. I saved him for last because he's very unique. He is our last villain. He is also a playable hero. This is David Haller, Legion, Professor X's son. Not really a psychic, but potentially a psychic. So Legion has like a million different mutant powers, but they're all split personalities. So he's going to have some interesting effects. So you'll notice he does not have supervillain. He is not allowed to be played by a player. I think it's because of the uniqueness of his deck. Split the master plan deck and shuffle the 6 different personalities. Shuffle each deck and remove 1 card. 1 card from the game. Stack the 6 face down in this order, from top to the bottom. Endgame, Chain, Time Sync, the Nazi Doctor, the Clown, and Guillermo Camari. Place the personality cards face down next to the dashboard. So he's gonna have his regular master plan, but he has a lot of them. Then he has his threat cards, as his typical 6 threat cards, and then he has these personality cards. So personality cards are going to go in a specific order. Then the master plan. Split the master plan into the 6 different personalities. Oh, I see. Shuffle each deck and remove one card and then stack them above. Okay, so what this is each one of these cards has 3 for each. So 3 for endgame, 3 for chain, time sink, the Nazi Doctor, the Clown, and Jeremiah Kamari. So you get 3 for each, so you're going to basically take one card of each one out, randomize them. So this works very similar as just talking about, and it's kind of funny because I didn't actually haven't looked at these cards before I did this video, so I didn't know that's what was happening. Which I was sort of talking about with like Emma Frost and stuff, adding more cards and you have to remove some to make the game more random. Like you have extra cards and it's like, hey, take a couple out each time, so you're back to the number you need to have it be the same. Like you only want 10 cards, okay, so you remove, so if you have 15, you have to remove 5. But it makes it a little bit more random every time. So it's 4, 5, and 6 health. Special Legion. Legion is the personality currently indicated in the last master plan card in the storyline, with the corresponding overflow, special rule, and villainous plot, if any. The space to the right must always contain the personality card corresponding to the last master plan card in the story. The hero must complete all 3 missions before Legion becomes vulnerable to damage. When the last threat is cleared, heroes may put 1 master plan card from the storyline at the bottom of the master plan deck. When a hero is KO'd, discard 1 threat, thug, or threat token from the mission that has not yet been completed. Okay, so here's Legion. His big old giant hair, his tank top, he's sitting on top of a brain. So how this works then, from the way I'm reading it, is when you play a master plan card, it's gonna randomly sort. So if you, for example, if we get, we're gonna have to set this down. So if like the first one we draw is endgame, Legion becomes endgame, so you have to flip to him. I don't know why it matters which way. So stack the 6 face down in this order, from top to bottom. Oh, I see. So you're gonna play these in order. So after you sort them out, he's gonna be endgame. Then he's gonna switch to chain, then to time sync, then to the Nazi. So you have 2, like say you have 2, 2, 2, 2 of each character, and then as you play through, he'll switch to each personality. So he'll start as endgame, who will have. I got what's played then. So it's not as random as I thought. I thought maybe get his personalities being in different orders. They'll always be in the same order. But you can always change that if you want something different. So his special ability as endgame. So basically, you'll play this, and then on the back here, it's his personality and his endgame. And then that'll sit on there like that. So now we know what his overflow and special rules are. So we got, if one or more thug or civilian tokens can't be added to the location, each hero there must turn the latest card in the storyline face down. Special rule in Legion can't take any damage. So here's endgame's abilities. Then up next we're going to have chain. Overflow can't be added. Each hero there must discard all their action tokens if they have any. Special rule, Legion can't take any damage if there are any thugs in this location. Chain's cards are going to be moved clockwise to the next location with the most thugs. There's going to have 2 of them. Then we get time sync. Overflow as Legion gains 1 health, may go above starting value. Special rule is Ignore any effects that would delay the villain turn. And time sync is recurring. The 4 earliest face-up hero cards in the starting to the bottom of their respective hero decks. Accelerate the next villain by 1 turn. And we got 3 of those, so that sucks. Next up, we have the Nazi Doctor. If one or more token can't be added, each hero there must reveal their hand if possible. Discard 1 card with any attack at the bottom of their and put it to the bottom of their deck. Villainous Plot. Hero loses if a hero doesn't perform any attack actions. The heroes lose if the hero doesn't perform any attack actions during their turn. Oh crap, that sucks. Until the start of the next villain's turn, cancel all special effects on the heroes. He's got 3 of those. That is brutal. Then we have the Clown. Overflow, add deal 1 damage to each hero in that location. Villainous Plot, the heroes lose if they're all KO'd at the same time. So then we have deal 3 damage to each hero in Legion location and 2 damage to each hero in adjacent locations. He's going to move clockwise to the location with the most heroes. He's going to do that a second time, and the other one lets him go counterclockwise. And then his final personality is Jeremiah Kamari, who has Overflow. Discard all civilians from that location. And Villainous Plot, heroes lose if there are no civilians in play. Then his abilities are, all 3 are the same, just from different movements. So he has, place 1 crisis token in Legion and both adjacent locations. Before revealing the next master plan, deal 2 damage to each hero in those locations. If there are no heroes, discard all civilians there, then discard all of those crisis tokens. Yeah, so this is some crazy abilities. And then he's got his threat cards. Split Personality Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, and Lambda. So nothing special there, but he has enough other stuff going on that he didn't really need a bunch of interesting threats. But I do like the idea of that, like I said, where he gets to, you select them cards and then you discard a few. But this is why you can't, hero couldn't play as him. I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't adjust the rules to let a character play as him, and get to choose which personality, but that's, that's something that's always you can do. It's, again, like I said, any game. It's your game, you own it, you can do whatever you want, make up your own rules. But I do like that. He starts with an extra 6 cards that you can then, you have to randomly discard. Like say you could go with like Emma Frost with extra illusions. Or many of the other characters you could add extra henchmen in. Like, hey, this guy didn't have any henchmen, let's add some more henchmen in there. So maybe you might get more henchmen or different henchmen. And depending on how you want to do that, you could definitely have some fun things there. You're going to get some of the older characters from the original Marvel set would be fun. Like, if you were doing Sinister Six, you could have, like, Green Goblin instead of having maybe whatever his regular threats were. You could give him different Sinister Six characters. Or even just have, like, a set of, like, 12 different Sinister Six other henchmen that could be added to any of the characters to go with it. Like, hey, we want to have the Sinister Six, but there's multiple members that changed. There could definitely be some fun things you could do with that as a concept. Alright, so that's what I got for this Kickstarter box. Check out the rest of the video, guys. See you later. Bye.